Hello everyone and welcome to this pick a card reading video. In this video, we will be looking at what you must release from your life. It could be a person, place, thing, any of the nouns. It could be a situation or relationship, so it could really be anything. You might already have a situation in mind, or maybe you want insight into what you must release. You don't really have an idea, so this could either be just validation for what you already know intuitively you must, or even logically you must release, or it could just be some insights into something you should look more into potentially releasing or removing from your life. And you may feel drawn to more than one stack, so feel free to listen to more than one or even all of them if you feel so inclined. Here is stack 1A, stack 2B, stack 3C. You can pause if you'd like and if you need some more time to figure out which stack you are most drawn to. If you are not drawn to any of the stacks, that's completely fine. This just might not be the pick a card reading video for you, but I have plenty of other timeless pick a card reading videos located all throughout my YouTube channel. As a reminder, everything I talk about and discuss in this video is for entertainment purposes only and cannot be stated as fact. Alright, let's get into it. Hello 1A and welcome to your part of the pick a card reading video. So I just very briefly glanced over everything, as I do before I hop on individually for each stack. Oh my god, I feel like crying already? Oh my goodness. Whoa. Okay, okay. There's a lot going on here, a lot. So we just have to get straight into it, okay? We have here the King of Staffs, or the King of Wands upright, the Knight of Cups upright, the 10 of Staffs or Wands upright, the Death card upright, the Queen of Swords in reverse, and the Lovers upright. So, we also, for the Oracle cards, have 55 transits climate. I'll read in the guidebook from that later, as well as from the other Oracle card here, 8 alchemy. The frequency of alchemy activates our magical ability and remembrance of the magic that we all hold inside. Each one of us has the potential to access the ancient knowledge that allowed the true alchemist to perform the miracles of transmutation. These other two cards on the side here are from the Angel Answers Oracle deck, and I will flip those over later on. Those will be based on questions that you ask, so it will be at the end. But first, I want to mention, before I actually get started, 55. 5 and 55 could be an important number for y'all. I really feel that strongly, so pay attention to 5 and 55. And 5 is a number inherently about change as well, so it's cool how that is the card associated with the transits card, because if you know about transits in astrology, transits in and of themselves also represent change, because it represents the transits of the planets, and how they're always constantly moving around the sun in our solar system. Yeah. Okay, so I think a big thing that you all need to release is, sorry, I looked up, usually I don't look at the recording audio thing, but it had paused. It had paused at like 1:59 just before 2. I think that could have significance, actually. Excuse me. I don't even actually know where to start. What was I gonna say? I think that something you need to release is you're wanting to fix everything and do things for other people. And I think with the Transits Climate card being here and even the Alchemy card being here, it's a push from Spirit to be like, hey, it's okay to like move on from the past. And it's also okay to just not always do everything all the time. Doing so much is actually preventing you from enacting true and positive change in your life. At least the kind that Spirit would like to see in your life. It's very... What the heck is that? Where in the heck did that come from? Is that a tick? Oh my god, what is that? Oh my god, there's so much going on for y'all, I swear. I'm trying to kill this tick. Did I pick it up? I don't know where it went. Okay, I don't even know what to say. Okay, I am sorry. Okay, this is relevant though, okay? Because here's the thing. There really is so much going on. there's so much going on in your life and you're trying to do too much. Spirit is saying you need to release. With the Ten of Wands, that's all about having a lot of responsibilities, but also burdens. Even if you don't view things as burdens, Spirit is saying you're doing too much all at once. What you need to do is, and instead of the Ten of Wands energy, tap into the King of Wands energy, where you can be in control more. Because I think some of you too could have control issues, so if that's the case, you need to release control as well. But there's this sense that you're trying to do too much and fix too much. And Spirit is saying that if you're more direct with that King of Wands, things will play out more smoothly. Let me think of an example. Like let's say, ooh, we do have the Death card here too, and I think a lot of you could be dealing with the grieving process as well. But with the Ten of Wands here, for the example I was gonna say, I feel that, what was I gonna say? For the example I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? Oh my gosh. Like, I wish y'all could inhabit my mind right now. Like, oh my god, I feel like crying again. There's so much going on. That's also why, with transits and climate, I think it also just represents how you're already going through so many changes, and maybe throughout your whole life, you've been through a lot of trauma, or you've just been through so many changes. Maybe things have never been I don't want to say stagnant, but for some reason I want to say that. Things have never been peaceful. Things have never been stable. There's always been things that have changed, and I think whether that's true of your childhood and now or just now in your life, it feels like there's so much going on. And Spirit is saying you can't control some of the changes that are happening as well. And so there's only so much you can do. You cannot force change. You also can't force other people to change, but you also, by burning yourself out or by trying to accomplish things at once, you won't actually be happy. By trying to fix things, sometimes things can't be fixed by you. It has to be fixed by other people, or sometimes things can't be fixed. So Spirit is saying you need to release the expectation that you can fix anything and everything, whether for yourself or other people. I want to get to what I was going to say before though with the King of Wands. Nope, I gotta bring up the Knight of Cups upright because I think a lot of you are very compassionate, kind people as well. And that's mirrored by the Queen of Swords in reverse. So I think it's almost like people can come to you and you're a very reliable person. You'll help other people, you'll do things for other people. But I feel like with this Queen of Swords energy, it's like people, it's not, I don't even know if it's like people, some people probably take your empathy and your compassion and your kindness for granted, but I don't get the sense that most people do. I just think people know that they can rely on you if they need help with something, or if they have a question or whatever it is, if they just want you to show up for them. You're the kind of person that will do that. And I very much see that because you fix. And you also, with this Ten of Wands energy, it's about you just being an overall helpful person. And so you are able to show up for other people. But because of this Queen of Swords in reverse being here, I feel like a lot of you have placed the notion on yourself that you have to help other people no matter what, and that you also, with that, I think, just put other people before yourself and your own needs. So what you also must release is that notion that you should always care about other people before yourself. You know, I hear about that, people talking about how that's a big thing for them, like, for example, having a partner that always puts their needs above their own. It's like, that's not healthy to always do that. It's okay to, like, show up for people. Like, let's say you get a flat tire. I love using this example. But let's say you get a flat tire somewhere and you call somebody and they have to, like, take off work early. But they're like, I would do that for you. Like, if you don't have AAA, I don't know. I guess maybe that's not the best example. Let's say your car breaks down no. Because what if you have, like, triple, I don't know. Let's just say, oh, let's say you got locked out of the house and you have a partner, right? And then they have to come home early, and you're like, "I'm so sorry. This, like, never happens. I never forget my keys like this." And they're like, "It's fine." Like, I don't even know how you would have gotten locked out. Anyway, in that example, like, your partner could be like, "It's fine. I understand. It's okay." And, like, in that situation, they would be very kind and compassionate. But let's say you lose your keys all the time, or you keep forgetting them inside, and somehow you keep getting locked out. By that point, if your partner keeps having the same sentiment, like, "Oh, it's fine. Oh, no, it's completely fine." Like, I could get, in their mind, it's like, "Well, my boss said if I keep having to do this, that they'll fire me," but, um, So in that situation, it's like that partner in the example keeps showing up for, let's say it's you, and they're like, "Oh, it's fine," and, like, they keep not allowing things to happen, but sometimes you know what? I will say, actually, a lot of you, I think you do allow certain things to happen. Um, like, if you're that partner in this example, it's like people keep making mistakes, but then they don't because they can rely on you, they aren't afraid to keep making the mistakes, and it's maybe they put in some effort to enact change, but not enough. You get what I'm saying with this, right? So it feels like what you must release is your enabling quality. I think some of you are enablers for other people, and you so it's bad for them too because then those people don't really truly change, or they don't get the help that they need, or yeah, they just keep engaging in bad habits or in bad relationships. So make sure you're not enabling. Queen of Swords in reverse makes me think a lot of you struggle with having difficult conversations and that you don't want to disappoint people. So you must release the idea that you will disappoint people, and also release the idea that it is a bad thing to disappoint people. It's okay for people to feel disappointed or sad or upset at you or at anybody. People are allowed to feel emotions. People cannot be happy all the time. So for some of you, I think you also need to release this idea of toxic positivity that you maybe live throughout your life. And yeah, I just sense a lot of you struggle to face difficult conversations specifically, and you don't want to upset people, but people either way are going to be upset about things. There's only so much you can do to control, which is why I'm saying a lot of the things you you need to give up this idea that you can control things or that you should, because transits is here, saying that things are always happening in the background as well. And wait, I want to go back to this King of Wands energy that I keep on, King of Wands and Ten of Wands, where, because yeah, I want to try and find a way to explain this better. You must release the need to fix everything, but Spirit also, with releasing that, they also want you to do something different in terms of like being more effective with your time. That's a thing you must release as well. Not being like being too open with your time. People have access to your time and energy all the time, but it's also release, not it's not go with the flow energy, but spirit wants for you to organize and schedule better. So if you have tasks that you want to complete, some of you must release the issue of multitasking, and I've already, I guess, kind of pointed that out. But Spirit doesn't want for you to multitask anymore. They want for you to be more structured, and they want for you to put things into your schedule. So if you have something like a self-care night, put into your schedule, because that's something too that you must do more, self-care and alone time. So Spirit is saying that, let's say you have something on a Wednesday night, put into your schedule for like a spa day or a self-care day, or doing something just by yourself, painting, drawing, catching up on reading. But then somebody reaches out that you hang out with quite a bit and they're like, hey, can you actually get together on this day, like one of your really good Judies, one of your really good friends. I think a lot of you, even in those kinds of situations, it's not like there's an issue at hand, right? But you still feel like you want to show up for your friend because they had asked you. Maybe some of you growing up, I get a sense you had, how do I explain? I think you gain a lot of confidence, could be the word, but I think you gain a lot of happiness and what is it, like the like will, or what is it, purpose. There we go. I think you derive a lot of purpose through your friendships and through your connections, specifically outside of your family is the way this comes through. Or it could be family members that are specifically siblings as well, or like cousins, or like any of that. Um, is the way that this comes across. Or like specifically people younger than you. Or your, yeah, friends or your business partners or counterparts in that way. It feels like you derive a lot of purpose through those because maybe growing up, you could have been bullied, or maybe your parents weren't there for you, your grandparents weren't there for you. Maybe you had a very turbulent childhood in some way, or in a way that people weren't there for you. So it just feels like you relied. Maybe that doesn't relate to your childhood, but it just relates to you now. But it's like you rely on your friendships and you see these friendships as being valuable. And so because of that, you want to make sure you show up and not disappoint people. You want to show that you are there for people, and then hopefully people can be there for you. Granted, I think there are people in your life who do show up for you just as much, maybe even as you show up for them. But okay, I want to go back to that example because, yeah, let's say you have something in your schedule and your friend is like, hey, can you hang out? And you're like, I'm sorry, it's a self care day. Generally, you might be like, okay, I'll go out. Or you'll be like, no, I'm sorry, I have a self-care day, but then you'll be grouchy with yourself, like, oh my god, I wish I would have gone. I hope they're not having too much fun without me. I think a lot of you must also release the idea of well, I want to say imposter syndrome too. That isn't even what I was gonna try to get at. So if you have imposter syndrome where you feel like the good things that happen to you aren't meant to happen for you, that's something you must release. But I was gonna say you must release FOMO, fear of missing out. Oh, 234 at the time of recording this. Everybody pause, make a wish. And that makes sense too. That time. Okay. But it makes sense because it's like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's like if things are falling into place. Things will fall into place more if you don't try to control the outcome so much. If you don't try to control things in general so much. What was I saying? Oh yeah, let's say in that example I was giving that you're like, you tell your friend, I'm sorry, it's a self-care day, but then you're at home, you have FOMO. So if you have FOMO, that's something you must release as well, because people in your life, this is something that Spirit really wants to emphasize for you all. People in your life will understand that you cannot always be there for them if they are true friends or if they are true counterparts. People will know and understand that you need time for yourself. And I think you're the type of person who would tell other people that too, like, hey, it's okay for you to do things without me all the time, even though we're good friends, or hey, it's okay for you to not hang out with me on a day, where if you're just feeling even upset, there doesn't have to be some grand reason. So I think you need to also release the idea that you can't be there for other people or you can't do things only if there's a big reason. There doesn't need to always be some big reason that you can't show up for things, that you can't say yes to things or agree to things, that you can't do extra work or work extra overtime. There we go. You don't always need some grand reason for all of that. So I think a lot of you too, what you must release is the pressure that you put on yourself. There's so much pressure that you put on yourself to be the best person that you can be. And Spirit is saying, like, oh my god, I feel like crying again. Oh my god. Like, I just get such good energy, such good vibes from you all. You're such kind-hearted people. I feel it. I'm visualizing green and white in my heart chakra area right now as we speak. I feel such great energy from you all. So you need to also release the idea that you're a bad person in any way. I think I already said that, but that you're specifically a bad person or an unkind person if you're not always able to show up for people. You just put so much pressure on yourself, and Spirit is saying you deserve to give yourself a break and that you deserve to not always try to be perfect. You must release perfectionism as well. Spirit is saying perfect doesn't exist, and the more you try to be perfect, it doesn't actually help you be perfect because perfection does not exist. And with an alchemy here, and it's talking about the magic that we all hold inside, Spirit is saying you as a person, you alone. Oh my god, I have got to hold it together. Oh my god. But seriously, you as a person are enough. You as a person, if you feel like, because again, a lot of you I feel like have imposter syndrome, so you need to really work on connecting with yourself more and realizing how you are a good person. If there's stuff you want to change, then you can do that, but don't hold shame for that. If that's the case, that's something you must release as well. Release shame for any mistakes you've made in the past, or just release shame for anything people told you about yourself that isn't true growing up, or sometime recently, or sometime now. Like, there's people who tell you are a certain way. If it's something you yourself agree that you don't like, you have the power to change. That's what alchemy is saying. You have the power to change, to be better or do better. But if there are parts of you that you really like maybe something you really like about yourself is that you donate your time, or you work with a charity organization once every month or two. Like, that's something to be proud of. So that's something Spirit really wants for you all to do, is to look at your achievements and look at everything in your life that you can be proud of. It's not just about your achievements, but also how you treat people specifically. Think about your relationships, how you, in general, show up for people, but also get specific with it. Like, "Oh, yeah, last week I helped my coworker do this, or I picked up this shift for that person." Like, think of the ways in which you are already good. If you like, you're not a perfect person, so anything that you're in the process of, you already know about, you're trying to change, Spirit is saying that is great, and that you should focus on the fact that you're trying to change and do better, but don't put so much pressure and don't put a timeline on it, because with transits, like, changes are happening whether you see them or not. So what you have to do is just allow things to change. Don't put so much pressure and don't put a timeline, because if we put a timeline, that indicates, like, how do I explain it? It takes the special qualities out of it, or it just takes you focus more on the time, you focus more on, like, perfectionism in a way. You focus more on the schedules of it in terms, or rather than the actual healing you need to do or the changes you need to do. Like, I don't even know how to better explain, but yeah, it focuses more on the external rather than the actual internalized process of change. There are these other cards I wanna get to as well with, yeah, and death is all about change. It's all about things constantly changing. Some of you as well, I think what some of you must release is your escapist tendencies, because I think you escape in other people's problems, or you escape in trying to fix the external. Some of you could also be grieving right now. It could be the loss of a loved one, or it could be the ending of a friendship, the ending of a career or a job. It could be any sort of ending. I think it could be more than one as well. But there's something that you are currently in the process of changing in your life, or that isn't what I was going to say, that too, but there's something you're right now in the process of grieving, or it could be something that that happened not too long ago, or maybe it's something that will just happen inevitably, that you know will happen sometime very soon in the future. And Spirit is saying try not to prepare too much if that's the case. Just allow things to happen and then go from there. But any sort of grieving that you do now or sometime in the future that you've recently done, all that, you still have to give yourself grace, and you must release the idea that grieving in and of itself is also on a timeline basis. Spirit is saying that sometimes things are going to affect us more than other times, and sometimes, like, the things we go through, like, we'll be grieving one day, and then we'll be fine for a month, and then we'll be grieving for an entire week, or things will come up and it will remind us, it will trigger us of our past. That's the thing too, with the death card being here, I think for some of you that can indicate just you being haunted by your past in some way. And so that's also why, even though you feel like there's a lot you're trying to do to control your current life situation or trying to fix and repair, it feels like, I brought this up at the very beginning, but the word stagnant did come up. As much change as you're trying to enact, if you're focused too much on the external, then the internal will suffer, and then the changes won't actually matter, or they won't really fully be fledged out. So with the death card being here, Spirit is saying that you must release your hauntings from the past. You must release the past itself. Don't have the past dictate your present or your future. We can learn from the past, we can grow, we can heal, we can create art as it relates to our pain from the past or past experiences. We can learn and grow and create from the past, but that doesn't mean we should live in the past. So Spirit is saying to continue moving forward, not be stuck in the past, release the past. If there's something from the past that still plagues you, work through it instead of escaping from it. That's the thing too. If you're only doing action instead of actually thinking about it, that's an issue. Spirit is saying you must do more thinking through. Like, if there's something from the past that's affecting you, think it through. If you have a therapist you can talk to the therapist. If you want to journal, if you want to talk to a friend, or just talk to yourself. Because I think a lot of times people are like, oh, well, this thing that affected me, it's so long ago in the past, so it shouldn't affect me anymore. But that doesn't mean it doesn't. So there are likely things that you must release from your past that are still affecting you, that you have not fully addressed. Even if you're like, okay, I acknowledged it. It's like, okay, that's a big first step, is acknowledging when something from the past is affecting us or has impacted us in some way. That is a very big and powerful first step, is acknowledgement. But we can't just stop at acknowledgement a lot of the time. We have to also enact change from that. So we can acknowledge the past, but then we can just be like, okay, I'm gonna move on. That's not how it works. You have to be like, okay, how specifically does this thing still affect me? And what can I do to no longer allow this thing to affect me anymore? What can I do to actually release this from my grip? What have I done already, and what is yet to be done? Is there help that I can receive from other people for this type of situation? And give yourself, you need to do checkups in yourself too, at minimum once or twice a week, being like, okay, like, because it feels like one or two things at least are like very major that you need to work through right now, and like releasing things from the past. So it's like, or people or situations, right? So you need to check ins like, oh, have I been triggered over the past few days from this thing? Even daily check ins could be recommended at first, where it's like, how am I feeling today? Maybe sometimes there's people, like, in the mornings or at night where their anxiety is worse, right? It's because maybe it relates to something specific. Like, maybe in the morning is when your family, your parents' fights were always the worst because they were always stressed out about getting everybody ready to school and, like, getting ready for the for the day. So it's like maybe you realize that's why you feel so anxious in the morning a lot of the times, but it's like, okay, you acknowledge that, but you're still anxious, so what can you do? There's a lot of different, like, techniques people can do to calm anxiety in that way. And something you can do is just also in that moment acknowledge, in that kind of example, "Hey, my parents are not here, they do not control my current living environment. Um, I am not fighting it with anybody right now, and if I were to, it would still be okay, like, I am in a better situation now than what I had to experience growing up. My past experiences can educate me and inform me, they do not need to be inhabited in my subconscious or in my body in the way I feel anxious or anything now and moving forward." Do you get what I'm saying? So that, and then the Lover's card I want to talk about, because a lot of you, what you must release could be specifically a romantic relationship. It doesn't, for a lot of you, I feel like it's not even a current one. Like, you could be in a relationship now, and if you're like, no, I'm all good, my current relationship's feeling good, then this is doesn't relate to that, right? It still could for some of you if you're in a current relationship, but, it feels like for a lot of you, this is a past relationship, so again, the past. So a current or past romantic partner or situationship, whatever you wanna call it. It seems like there's somebody you need to release who occupies a lot of, maybe even your mind still. It could just be your subconscious. A lot of you, maybe even if you're single, for example, you could maybe subconsciously think you're not worthy because of your past relationship, how it ended, and maybe they said certain things were your fault, whether it's true or not. And that's the thing too. I think for a lot of you, for your past mistakes, you've held yourself accountable, but it's also about not being so cruel to yourself for any mistakes you've made. And I brought that up earlier too. But for the lovers, I just think that indicates also, oh, you know what? It also indicates this. Something else you must release is your need to people please, which fits into you trying to fix things for other people or always show up for other people. So Spirit is saying to not people please, and that's actually not harmony. That's not keeping things balanced or even keeping things peaceful, because that's just keeping things under the rug. That's not true friendships if you can't also have the hard conversations or say when things upset you. Obviously, I'm not saying have yelling matches, but with your people pleasing, a lot of you struggle, I think, to speak up for yourself. And so Spirit is saying you must release that habit of not speaking up for yourself, and you also must release your people pleasing tendencies in general. And even if it's scary, Spirit's saying that it is important. And the Death card, it makes me think that person who's on the ground in here, looking up to like the Anubis creature here that is depicted on the card. It's like you're doing that to this Death card. It's like the Anubis looking figure is just chilling, but you're just like, no, I'm like such a bad person. It's like, no, you sticking up for yourself doesn't make you a bad person. You even making mistakes doesn't actually make you a bad person. Like, Are you trying to do better? Are you trying to right your wrongs? That's all you can do. Forgive yourself. I think you're more likely to forgive other people than you ever would yourself. So that's something you also need to work on releasing, is not forgiving yourself, not healing from your past in that way. Okay, that was a lot of talking I was doing. I think that pretty much covers it. So we will go into the guidebook. I flipped right to it. It's toward the back of the guidebook anyway, but okay. Let's read all the way through it. So we have 55 transits, climate. The planets are always moving through time and space, always spinning around us. When those planets form geometric relationships to one another, they create transits, the astrological weather conditions of the day that affect us all. When a moving planet forms a geometric relationship to a planet in your natal chart, that transiting planet can act like a guest who enters your house, sits in your kitchen, or sprawls in your living room. It activates that part of your existence. If that transiting planet talks to your Mars, it activates your warrior nature and fight or flight response. If it talks to your moon, it initiates a story centered around your home, your family, and how you nurture yourself. Action. The situation is in flux and the surrounding conditions are changing. Stay alert, aware, and be ready to respond to incoming dangers and opportunities. Some people are moving in, others are leaving. New opportunities open and old chapters close, and that's all about what the death card indicates. I'm serious. I didn't even realize that until I started looking at it while I already, started this video. But yeah, transits and the death card, that's perfect. Listen to the grapevine for changes in personal or economic conditions. You are not in control of these elements, but you can make the most of these changes and dance with fate. People that walk into your life now may be karmically important. Either the relationship will last a long time, or it may be short, pithy, is that what it means? Pithy, and teach you a valuable lesson. Excuse me. It can be helpful at this point to look at the transits in your natal chart. There is no volume control on this card's energy. Transits may trigger a small change in the personnel around you, or it could signal a shooting star that blazes across your life and turns your direction entirely. You have choices, though. Ask for grace and guidance when responding to the changing circumstances. Challenge. Wild cards are in play. You are not in control of who or what now brushes your life, and that can be scary. That's the thing, too. When you actually, there's a lot of things going on, a lot of things you're trying to maybe control in your life right now, but Spirit is saying once you actually give up control, that's when a lot of stuff will enter your life, and it'll be like, oh my god. Oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. Yeah, okay, gift. Even though life is an ever-moving circus and you do not control the people and events transiting your life, know that you are in complete control of your response to the transit. Choose wisely. And that also means choosing friendships wisely. For some of y'all, people-pleasing people who are just still friends with people you shouldn't be friends with anymore. Anyway, now we have 8 alchemy. The frequency of alchemy activates our magical ability and remembrance of the magic that we all hold inside. Each one of us has the potential to access the ancient knowledge that allowed the true alchemist to perform the miracles of transmutation. Alchemy usually refers to the process of transforming matter, particularly that from metal into gold. In a more esoteric sense, alchemy has been associated with magical transformations that have to do with longevity. Magic is as real as we allow ourselves to believe, whether we aim to transform metal into gold or wish to find the secret to life itself, the immortality of the soul. When we access the mysterious, subtle, and often undefined parts of ourselves that light us up, we get a taste of real magic. That's something I wanted to say to a lot of you. Maybe there's qualities about yourself or hidden talents that have lied dormant. Maybe there's talents you have that you know that you have had for a while, but you just let them lie dormant because there's other things you're focusing on. So when I talk about self-care, that also means creative and artistic expression. And that within itself also includes just anything that you're good at or that you wish to explore more, even if you're not the best at it. And that you can maybe even expand your talents or your abilities. Okay, love is one of the greatest, most mysterious, and magical energies in the universe. When love comes to us and we open our hearts to welcome it in, true alchemy can work its magic on every aspect of our being. In tantric traditions, it is believed that when two people merge through not only their physical bodies, but with all the energetic aspects of themselves aligned as well, they can reach states of consciousness that have powerful rejuvenating effects and can even open the door to immortality. These heightened states of consciousness can also be achieved by a single individual. The key either way is the intentional direct, that's what I was talking about, being intentional and direct. The intentional, directed, deep state of love that merges all dualistic aspects, the masculine and the feminine, with others and ultimately within ourselves. The alchemy image shows how one becomes two, or is it the other way around? From the center, source, spin the two aspects of the masculine, left circle with the upward triangle, and feminine, right circle with the downward triangle, representing the dualistic world of the physical plane. The bright orange represents the color of our sacral chakra, which is linked to our sexuality, our connection with others, and its freeing effect on the body and mind. Purple and violet represent our connection to the higher realms and source, indicating that our consciousness is as much as part of the merging as our physical bodies are. I think during this time too, you might notice that you're a lot more intuitive if you allow yourself to be. The large triangles refer to the union between the masculine and the feminine, where the upward triangle represents the masculine and the downward one the feminine. The number 6, circles light sources, represents harmony, love, and balance. Try this. Take a moment to go inside yourself and remember who you are. Remember that you hold within you all the secrets of unlimited potential and infinite existence. Do you know that you are magical? That you can perform magical manifestations? You are a great sorcerer. Practice your magic often. That's the thing. I feel like there's so much you're trying to do right now, trying to do or change. And Spirit is saying that go within yourself. And if you really sit with yourself, you'll know what it is that you actually want. And maybe what you actually want, you're filling the void doing things you don't actually want or need in your life. So Spirit is saying to look more into that. But let's close that. Let's put some of these cards away because now we have to go to these other cards. Okay. So I would like you to look here on the screen. Here is this first card. I want for you to think of a question. It can be any sort of question. And even if you had questions beforehand, looking at this card, you could have a different question based off of obviously what the answer will be that is provided to you here shortly. So think of a question. I'll give you a minute here on screen to really connect with the card. Think of a question, and then I will reveal the answer for you. Okay, it has been a minute, and the answer is that you should be assertive. That is what the card says. Now, I want you to still look at the screen if you're able, and to look here, because now there is a different question I'd like for you to ask, and you will be provided with a different answer. So I will do what I did before. I will give you a minute to really connect with the card. You can also pause if you need more time to think of another question, but I will have that minute start right now. And here is the answer for you for that second question. It says, look for a sign. All right, I will leave it there. Thank you so much, 1A, for watching and listening to this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, you can like the video down below. You can comment down below if you resonate with this stack, and you can update your comments sometime in the future if there are any updates you would like to provide for us all. You can subscribe to my channel, it helps me out a lot. You can check out my other timeless pick a card reading videos located all throughout my YouTube channel, and you can check out my ASMR channel, Brittney's ASMR, that will be linked in the video description down below. Thank you so much again, and take care. Hello, 2B, and welcome to your part of the pick a card reading video. So I feel like it's very straightforward what I'll have to say for you all after I briefly looked at the cards here, but the cards are Ace of Cups in reverse, Five of Swords upright, Temperance in reverse, Seven of Cups upright, the Moon in reverse, and Judgment upright. And then we have, for the Oracle cards, 54, square, semi-square, quincunx. I always probably say that wrong, and the keyword's tension. And we have 16, conception. The frequency of conception invites us to bring our consciousness to our origin, the place where everything in creation begins. It helps us to remember the infinite potential and possibilities of this space and what we can manifest through our own focused awareness and intention. And then there are two oracle cards from the Angel Answers Oracle deck that I will get to at the end of your reading, and they will supply answers to questions that you have. But yeah, more on that later. Let's focus on this. So the main thing you must all release is your judgment of others, as well as I think a lot of you have anger issues. I am so sorry. You must release impatience as well. And you must release the idea that everyone is out to get you. And you must release your stubbornness. Those are the main things. But yeah, we even have judgment card here, so releasing judgment is very important. Here's the thing. And what I'm about to say, it's not to diminish your life experiences, but we've all been through a lot. I think you've been through certain things that have hardened your exterior, or it could even just be that you grew up in an environment where your parents were maybe they weren't necessarily kind in their words. They were very direct. Also, a lot of you, I think, must release too much too much directness. I think a lot of you think you're being honest when you're actually just being mean. So that whole concept, you actually need to release that. Because there's a difference between being honest with meanness and being honest with compassion. Okay? And so with there being differences there, you need to distinguish between, sorry, I got distracted I thought there was something on my arm. Okay. But you need to be able to distinguish between those concepts and realize if you're being too stubborn or too mean. Oh, there it is. There was a bug that I saw in... Oh, where'd it go? There was a bug that popped out in stack 1 toward the beginning. I don't know where the heck... Okay, that's crazy. Where did it go? It was literally just there. It was in the... It popped onto the guidebook. The Starcodes Astro Oracle guidebook. Okay, anyway. Yeah, but it feels like you have this, what I was saying before is it seems like you have this hard exterior, and even with the square, semi-square card here, that's all about getting into arguments with people. So it's the Five of Swords. It's all about arguing with people. And so I think also what you must release is the idea that you are always right. You also must release the idea that you must always like fight back or debate back if you feel somebody's wrong. Sometimes it is okay to just let people be wrong, or sometimes it is okay to just let people believe something, whether it's true or not. I think a lot of you too, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of this stack, if you are atheist, because it very much gives that as well, where a lot of you could maybe, well, maybe not atheists. A lot of people who believe in tarot are more agnostic. But for some reason, I feel like saying atheist. So let's just say that as an example. I don't know, whatever your religious practice is or isn't, I feel like people who are different from you in that respect, in terms of spiritual practice and beliefs, you are eager to tell people that they are incorrect or to tell people that your way is the right way. I think a lot of you could be susceptible. It reminds me of like Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormons, like people who knock on doors and like try to get you to believe what they believe. That's the thing too, where I think a lot of you have very strong beliefs and ideology in terms of what you don't believe, but you also have very strong beliefs, I think, for what you do believe. And that could be because of life experience. That could be because of what you grew up with. But it feels like for a lot of you, what you believe in now is very different from what you believed in growing up. And I think that's why a lot of you write so hard for what you believe in. And that doesn't just mean spiritual beliefs, that means everything. It also gives me the vibes of somebody who's like a scientist and who knows all the scientific lingo, knows about all these studies, and then maybe certain people don't. So then you aren't afraid to debate them or be like, hey, this is why and how you're wrong. And we have to remember to not always be on the defense or to not always tell other people that they are wrong. Because there's very much a pattern of that, where growing up, maybe you were told you were wrong a lot of the time, or maybe your parents, your family members, your community led you astray and got you to believe certain things. It almost is like the vibe of you were told growing up that Santa was real, and then a classmate told you Santa wasn't real, so then you went home that day and you're like, is Santa real? And your parents were like, well, actually, they're not. It's very much that, where I imagine it's more than just that. I wouldn't be surprised if throughout your life you've been gaslit, so that's why you, I feel like, are somebody who wants to get all the information. And even, I think you're stubborn, where if you find out that you are wrong about something, you will hold firm in that belief. And you'll, maybe if you end up admitting, hey, you know, I don't even think you'd be like, I don't know, you could be like, hey, I was wrong, I admit I was wrong. But then you wouldn't want to go beyond that. I feel like you easily get embarrassed when you are wrong about something. Or, yeah, when you don't have the full picture. Because you like to be, I think, viewed as somebody who has all the information, or who has their life together, or who knows this or this or this, who has these resources or connections. And so I feel like when you don't have that, or when there's a flaw in your argument or your reasoning or what have you, or you just, yeah, don't have the full picture, I think a lot of you can get very embarrassed, because you like to, with the judgment card, with that person with the, what is that? Is it the bugle horn? Is that what it's called? French horn, bugle horn, I don't know. Anyway, in the judgment card, if you were able to look, they have that horn in their hand. It very much reminds me of that, where it's like, hear ye, hear ye. And I want to be, and I'm seeing you on a soapbox now too, where I think you're very strong in your convictions. And so that's why a lot of you, I think, do research, even if that's the thing too, you need to release the idea that you should do. This may sound like a weird thing, like you must release, I don't know, but you must release the idea that your knowledge is most useful when it is to disprove others. Instead, what you must have the mindset of is that knowledge is power, and it helps you to make decisions for your own life. And maybe to have useful and informative discussions with other people. And I think something you must release is the idea that subjective thought is objective thought, because that is not true either. Just because something is true for you, something that is opinion based or opinion centered, does not mean that it has to be true for other people. And that can be very hard, I know, with, for example, politics, when that comes into play. And it's okay for you to even be upset by other people having different beliefs from you, but that doesn't mean you always have to get into arguments with people about it. That doesn't mean you always have to bring it up. And if it's, for example, a deal breaker, you don't want to be friends, or you don't want to be close with somebody in your life who has a certain political belief, then Spirit is saying if that is a deal breaker for you, then you shouldn't be friends with these people if you're just going to keep bringing it up and berating these people. But I also feel like, like you could have people in your life. I'm seeing you being friends with people who you agree with a lot of the same things on, but maybe there's just certain issues you don't. And Spirit is like, is it really enough for you to not be friends with people just because every single thing that they believe in doesn't 100% align with what you believe in? Spirit is saying that that is not That isn't possible. No matter how hard you try, is not possible to have any subjective or objective opinion or truth, whatever belief, be completely in alignment with other people. That or any other person. There's no way. Even if it's something as simple as, "Oh, this is my favorite Hunger Games movie or book," versus the other person has a different one. Something very simple like that. I was gonna say Harry Potter, but we don't really stan the J.K. Rowlings of the world, do we? Talk about political beliefs. Anyway, it feels like you almost like, you're very logical people, I think, but yet and with the moon in reverse, I think a lot of you base your opinions and beliefs on logic as well, instead of through emotion, so that's something as well. You must release not even release logic, but release rigidity in your beliefs, and not only base them on logic, but on your own emotions. Because I think a lot of you are also probably afraid to confront your emotions, even though you express your emotions, it's just you express it maybe more in anger, disappointment, or frustration, and you're maybe yeah, just easily angered by other people, the things they say and do. But Spirit is saying, look at things from more of an emotional standpoint as well. That also comes with the understanding of maybe thinking of why other people believe what they believe. That doesn't mean you have to agree with it, by the way. Understanding why other people believe what they believe understanding what other people believe does not equal agreeing with what people believe. Like, maybe you have a friend who's like, I don't believe they should. Oh, this is a good one. Like, maybe you have a friend or family member who's like, they shouldn't teach sex ed in school. They should keep that at home. And it's like, okay, let's take a step back instead of immediately going on the attack. Why do we? Because then that also strengthens your arguments as well, and hopefully gets you to come from a place of peace and of calmness instead of coming at people with anger or like yelling, raising your voice, or like not letting other people speak. Because doing that actually isn't going to help people see your point of view. Speaking over other people, interrupting people, completely just yelling at people all the time, there's a time and place, honestly, for that kind of stuff, but not always. So Spirit is saying, think of those things. But and that will help you in your arguments as well, to be more calm and then get people to be more receptive of what you have to say. Um, but yeah, Spirit is saying, like, yeah, somebody's like, school should be free of any sex education. And let's say if you're like, okay, let me take a step back before I respond. Or even you could simply ask them, like, further questions for background information. Like, why, instead of making any assumptions as well, you just be like, well, why do you believe that specifically? And maybe people don't even really know why. They're just like, well, just because. Or people will specifically say, well, because I didn't have that growing up, or wasn't taught that growing up, and that kind of situation, right? A lot of people come from their own point of view, and it can be very limiting, which I know can be also frustrating for you or other people who are trying to get somebody to see a different point of view. But then if somebody's like, "Oh, well, because I wasn't taught sex ed growing up, and look, I turned out fine." And you could come up with the facts, or if you don't have them on hand, you can be like, "Hey, together, like, I'll look up on my phone, let's look up how many," or you know what, in the United States, the states that have the highest pregnancy rate in teenagers is actually the states in the South and or states that are more right-leaning, more conservative. And also, let's look at STDs and STIs. Let's look at where those are most prevalent too. Oftentimes, it's the same case, and you see in states where there's less sex education that there's higher rates of STDs and STIs, whether you're a teenager or not. And there's just overall less knowledge, of course, about contraceptives, different forms of birth control, all of these things. And you could very calmly bring these things up, and you can even be like, hey, this doesn't mean you have to change your mind. But, like, I just wanted you to know these things, and, people will still be getting it on either way, and if people have the knowledge is power, so then people can also learn when there's potentially abuse happening or when it's a sketchy situation, people can learn about consent, all these things. So I say all that because I want to say that there's a way to connect with people where you can be calm. Again, there is a time and place. Your fieriness, I actually get a lot of air sign vibes from this spread, but also there's got to be a tinge of fieriness, right? But I get this sense that, oh, and the air sign stuff makes sense too, because I think it can be hard for you to see the other person's point of view if you don't agree with them or if it's something you also don't relate to. So I think, I'm sorry, I'm gonna read y'all a little bit. I feel like there could be some hypocrisy here where you are easily able to point out why somebody's wrong, but then there might be similar, maybe not a similar belief, but a similar line of thinking to get you to where you are. Maybe it's because of a past experience that got you to believe what you believe, and another person, a certain life experience gets them to believe what they believe. So I think there needs to be more planning of your thought and more like in-depth thinking in terms of that, in terms of why other people might think or believe what they believe, and also coming from a perspective of more compassion and kindness and patience. That's another thing as well. A lot of you, I think, I talked about this earlier. Temperance is in reverse, so I think a lot of you could lose your patience very easily. I actually think you could be very convincing, but you'd be more convincing if you came from a place more of love and kindness is the way this comes across. And I know that there's like, you could argue, well, the things I believe that other people don't believe, like, it's life or death in certain situations. Like, I completely understand that. That's why I'm saying, though, that there is a time and a place, right? I can't be the one to decide for you what the time and place is, or when it's time after being kind and patient with people, when it's time to finally be like, no, actually, I can't accept this. And then you maybe get more heated about it. Like, I can't say when that is for you, but if you could at least try in most situations to come from a place of patience and kindness and being also you, it's like you being like, hey, I'm also receptive to your point of view. That is where the moneymaker is. That is where I think you'll also, with doing this, opening up your mind in that way also gets you to understand more. Even if, like, you don't change your belief or your opinion, especially if a lot of you, I think, are very fact-based people, but yeah. So if you don't change your opinion even, I think you'll just gain more of an understanding and you'll gain more clarity. So then you will be less confused as to why people believe something as well. Also, I have to say, everybody in life, a lot of times, like, things are emotions that are negative in nature, well, quote unquote negative. Anger isn't always negative, but you know what I'm saying? Like, anything that's not happy and joyful. A lot of anger and a lot of sadness comes from fear in any shape, in any form. And so, once you go into conversations with that kind of perspective as well, I think you can maybe try to be like, hey, how can I get you to be less fearful of this? Also, I gotta bring up religion again, because I think a lot of fear is also based in religion. So that's why it's like, unless people leave their religion or like completely change the way they view their religious practice, a lot of times people want to change their opinions either. So that's why Spirit is saying you must release this notion that you have to change everybody's mind. Sometimes I want to say I guess people are a lost cause, but it's just more so that you can only do so much for people. People have to be able to make decisions and make choices for themselves, to have a change of opinion, change of lifestyle. People have to do this for themselves. As much as you try to, there's only so much you can do. Other people, even if it's greatly impacted by your input, other people have to be the ones to make those steps for changes, to enact progress in their life. And there's only so much that you can do to partake in that. And same for other people and you. People, whether you're, I mean, I believe that even though I think there are predestined events that happen, I also believe in free will. That's a whole separate topic, but I do believe in free will. And I believe that people have the right to unfortunately believe what they believe. Sometimes it can be very scary and very hate-filled. But here's the thing too, I talk about this. If you are going to come at something with anger or passion or rage, at least try your best to come from a place of love as well. Even if it's not like, it can be love for the other people, but have it be love for yourself and love for the people who are impacted by this belief. Like, it very much makes me think of things like queer rights and reproductive rights. Like, think of maybe not even your only experience, but other people. Come from a place of love, of standing up for them and standing up for yourself and saying, hey, I'm not going to take this and I'm not going to give up. Spirit is saying that you have the energy of not giving up. So they don't want you to get rid of that or release that. They love that you have that, but also at the same time, they want for you to give up just a bit. They want you to release and let go just a bit. In terms of, what am I trying to say? In terms of, yeah, just what am I trying to say? Oh my God, I cannot speak now. You must release. Oh, you might want to say too, uh, release tension in general. Oh, and tension is the key word. Yep. Perfect. Because, yeah, I feel like a lot of you, I wouldn't be surprised if you deal with a lot of like bone and body aches. If you have poor posture, work on that. But I wouldn't be surprised if you have a lot of pain in your body. You have even digestive issues. Because I think you carry the pain and the weight of these issues you care deeply about within your body. And so, of course, your body translates that into pain. So that's why I think, too, being more patient and kind and also knowing when to give up or also knowing when to take a pause or take a break for your mental and physical sanity, that will be very important. And it makes me think too, like during certain protests that are going on right now, there are certain like celebrities or activists who are very outspoken about certain things. But then if they like say go on vacation or if they do something fun or exciting, then people will go in their comments like, I thought you cared about this. Why aren't you talking about this major thing that's happening? And that's very much the energy y'all give me as well, where it's like you always feel like you need to be quote unquote on. You feel like other people always need to be quote unquote on. Where if you care about something, it's like we can't rest until we can't all of us we can't rest until this thing happens. I will say, I understand the sentiment, but you have got to take a break every once in a while. I completely understand. Like, the way this energy comes across for me, it's very motivating. It makes me want to do more with my life and, like, enact positive change. And even if not even positive change is what I want to say, but just progressive change, change that is necessary unless we want the world to continue to spiral more and more. So you have a very motivating energy and it's very infectious. That's the thing too. A lot of you are very leaders. So, but even leaders need a break. Leaders need to not always be on because you can't lead if you're coming from a place of being tired or just always 100% of the time angry. If you don't engage in talking with people who are your friends and not talking about the things that you're angry about or upset about. You have to have other parts of your life that exist outside of these issues that you are standing up for, that you are protesting against, that you're trying to get other people to change their mind about. But yeah, it's very much the energy of people who like you all give me the energy of people who go to protests and who are very angry about this state of the world and you wish that people and political leaders would do better, but also our communities. And I completely get that. But you'll operate better if you also take time to like get sleep. If you eat food, you know, like don't just go on a hunger strike every few days. That's not what Spirit is saying that you should do. Spirit is saying we can still enact change. We can still even be angry, but don't be angry absolutely 100% of the time. You need to have a break from that because that just isn't good for your overall health to be in that state, and that will affect you in so many ways. And it will make it harder for other people to see your side of things. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, and being more emotionally vulnerable. The moon in reverse reminds me of somebody who maybe um during arguments, like if you how do I want to explain? It seems like a lot of you aren't criers. Moon in reverse, Ace of Cups in reverse. So Spirit is saying what you must release is your anger. And in a way to do that is through things such as crying, but also artistic expression. That can be a way you can be an activist as well, or get people to see your side of things. Like if you can paint or draw, or you can provide poetry or a short story, a short film. There are ways to also express your point that are more conceptual or and the conception card, yep. That are more conceptual or are more artistic and creative in nature, and that could be a way that connects people to the point you are trying to make even better than if you were to use your words. So don't be afraid to do that. Also, don't be afraid to cry because it shows other people that you are affected by this in a way that isn't just you being angry. It shows your humanity and your humbleness in a way that I think people, even if they're afraid to cry too, like people can relate to. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're not somebody who is known to be a crier, like, if you allow yourself to cry every now and again and other people, like, witness that, that doesn't mean you have to. You can just cry alone, like, in your room. But if other people witness that, it shows, oh, this person isn't just like a robot. They don't just have these talking points that they want to spew out or that they want to try to convince me of. This is showing how they're not just angry, but they're saddened, or they themselves, again, we all run on fear. They're frightened in some way by these laws that are being enacted or by these bills that are being passed or by what our political leaders are doing. Like you can have more range and emotion. And Seven of Cups too shows that there's a lot of things that you obviously care about. There's a lot of things you want to do and a lot of ways you want to help. And Spirit is saying you must release the idea that you can solve everything everywhere all at once. You must release the idea that you should multitask doing all these things at once. Sometimes it's okay to just focus on one thing. Sometimes we can focus on different things. But sometimes we also need to take a break from certain things we want to tell others about or preach about, and we can focus on not only our own needs, but also we can focus on if there's a certain, like, one or two issues that really are emergency, needing needing our urgent attention, then we can focus on those things and put the other things aside until we get back to them in the future. Like, if you are not thinking about or working toward one thing that you care about, that doesn't mean you actually don't care about it. It just means that you maybe need to take a break or you need to take a breather or any of that. But in general, what you must release is this need to always fight with others, this need to always even disagree specifically with others. It gives very combative energy where if somebody says one thing, maybe you generally would agree with what they're saying, but you just like feel the need to disagree with them. And that can be very hardwired into people's nature, the need to always play devil's advocate or to always disagree with people. And Spirit is saying that that's not good for your health. You don't need to always find a reason to disagree with what people are saying. It's okay. Like, I think a lot of you have be careful with what I'm about to say. Okay, hear me out. A lot of you, I don't even want to say, I was gonna say big egos. You know, big egos, some of you maybe do, but it's more so you have wounded egos. So it reminds me of what I was saying. If you are ever proven wrong, that very much wounds your ego more, and you don't want that. A lot of you don't. And what was I going on with that? Proving people wrong, you don't always have to fight. Oh, playing devil's advocate and stuff. I think it gives y'all like an ego boost. Everybody has an ego, right? Everybody can get ego boosts from things, confident boosts, all that. But it feeds your ego when you're able to like disprove somebody or disagree with them for some reason. So Spirit is saying to release the idea that we should always be doing that and to instead work on not always needing to play devil's advocate or being able to, I think a lot of you have trust issues as well. Release the idea that you cannot trust a single person. You are able to foster relationships with people, and you don't always have to be in complete alignment with them in order to trust people. Whether that's trusting them with your life or just trusting them to, like, not steal your package if they're your neighbor. Like, there's ways about this. There are, like, things are not, and don't, Spirit also wants you to release the idea of black and white thinking. Don't think that things are only one way or the other. Things can be multifaceted. Things aren't only specifically just one way all the time. And for some reason, the note, yeah, pain is suffering. Why is that? Is that even a phrase? Pain is suffering? Pain and suffering? I don't know. Just release pain and suffering, I guess. Like, it's okay to be upset by things, but we can't only live our life just being upset by things. There are other things we can incorporate into our life to be more happy and well-rounded individuals, which will inevitably, again, help us in arguments that we have. And being more well-rounded and more compassionate will also lead us to have healthier relationships with people, whether we get along with them or we don't. You get what I'm saying? Okay. And I get the sense that a lot of you are very just individualistic people as well. So, Spirit is saying you must release a little bit sometimes of individualism, and don't be afraid to ask for help from other people, or don't be afraid to fact check again, and don't be afraid to also foster relationships that are based around multiple different things. It doesn't have to be that you're only friends with people who like have the same politics as you. You get what I'm saying? Anyway, let's go into the guidebook. So we have 54 square, semi-square, quincunx. Keyword tension. These three aspects are awkward, potentially confrontational, and urge us to grow as we reconcile disparate. I always say that word wrong because it makes me want to say desperate. Disparate points of view. Square aspects act as if two horses are pulling at right angles or two cars are colliding at a crossroads. Needs collide and tension pulls between different priorities within or without. A square is formed by two planets that are 90 degrees apart and in the same modality, cardinal, fixed, or mutable, while a semi-square is formed by two planets 45 degrees apart. A quincunx is formed by two planets 150 degrees apart, from two signs that have neither polarity, modality, nor element in common. Action. Life as a workout. This phase needs juggling, muscle building, and the careful coordination of competing needs. You may feel pulled between one path or another and pushed to make a decision, but with some fancy timing and rhythm, you may be able to do it all. Working with people who have diverse mindsets, yes, skills and backgrounds can be challenging, but in the long run, these collaborations prove most productive and enriching. It reminds me of people, like if you work somewhere and like a lot of people at your workplace maybe are in a different age group as you and have different beliefs as you. That doesn't mean you can't find ways to get through the day by being at least neutral. Like, you don't have to always be mean to your coworkers. That just makes a hostile work environment for everybody. You get what I'm saying? Find points of ease. The few things everybody agrees on already, and build out from there. Honor difference and expand. Let this situation become a mandala created by the interlacing elements that at first glance may not look like they go together. These apparently clashing pieces can round each other out and create a beautiful symbol of wholeness. Take this image into your psyche and use it as a pattern for interaction. These tense aspects take work, but don't avoid it. If you take a hatching baby bird out of its egg so it doesn't have to struggle, it won't build the strength needed to survive. A butterfly needs to struggle coming out of the cocoon in order to have circulation in its wings to fly. This situation builds your strength. Get ready to fly. That's the thing too. If you're able to, something Spirit wants you to do more is problem solve instead of like getting angry and then running away or walking away and not wanting to actually solve anything. Even if things can't like fully be solved all the time, try to find some sort of solution or like boundary. Challenge. This is a workout of body, mind, or spirit, and workouts can be tiring. Gift. Take this opportunity to build strength and learn to reconcile the conflicts within. When you can resolve internal conflicts, it is easier to resolve external ones. That's the thing too. Anything you've been ignoring in your life, it's time to really look at those things. Heal things within yourself, and that will help you heal the world. Okay, let's go to the other guidebook now. So we have 16 conception. The frequency of conception invites us to bring our consciousness to our origin. the place where everything in creation begins. It helps us to remember the infinite potential and possibilities of this space and what we can manifest through our own focused awareness and intention. And I like this, the last part, the focused awareness and intention too. I think a lot of you, if you're easily able to pick fights with people, it's like Spirit is also saying, pick and choose your battles. Sometimes people say things, it's like, okay, I know they're trying to just get a rise out of me, so I'm not gonna give them that satisfaction. You know, it's very much that energy. Infinite movement and expansion are dancing with stillness and contraction. Deep silence is harmonizing with the presence of a strong heartbeat. We are at home in this space, and at the same time, there is an indistinguishable sense of stellar connection that is unmistakably not of this earth. Conception can be described as the process of creation. This may refer to the beginning of life as a physical being or the start of an idea or a belief, like thinking a thing and then making it a reality. At the beginning of everything, there is a conceived nothingness that then becomes something, like one cell splitting into two, splitting into four, and so on. That's the thing too. If a lot of you, if your anger comes from like stagnancy or from things not working out in your life the way you'd like to, don't project that onto other people. And Spirit is saying that you have the power to enact change and not only have these beliefs, but to act upon them if a lot of you are struggling with that. And that can even be anything. Like, let's say you don't like your job, you want a new job. Then it's like, don't get mad at other people for talking about their jobs that they love. You can hopefully have the power, if not now, then one day to, or at least now, start trying to make a plan for what you can do to get out of your current situation if you are able, right? Even if it takes a while, even if you don't know the complete timing of things. At the very core of everything, there is a universal heartbeat, represented by the heartbeat graph running through the middle of this activation. The dark blue background shows the vast, deep galaxy in the depth of consciousness. The swirling background circles represent a grid that is not from this earth plane, indicating an origin from other dimensions and star systems as well. The bubbles are like the splitting of cells, symbolizing the process of conception and creation. Try this. Take a moment to go inside and remember where you came from. You're made of energy, pure consciousness. You chose to be here in body at this time in this place. Allow yourself to realize the infinite potential and possibilities that you are able to manifest through your focused awareness and intention through conception. That's the thing too. With the logical, I talked about also incorporating the emotional side of things, but also the intuitive. Like for any of you who potentially believe in witchcraft, like there are witches all the time who talk about how, or Reiki practitioners, for example, I'll say that there's this, if you're part of certain Reiki groups, they help send world peace Reiki to like different parts of the world. If you're a witch, there are witches who do spells on certain life events for certain favorable outcomes, or like, I don't do this, but people who put like hexes on people. If you believe in any of that kind of stuff, I won't be surprised if y'all were to do black magic kind of things. Then look into that. Okay, let me put these cards away now because I think I'm done with that. And then I want you to look here on the screen now, if you are not yet looking. And we have oracle cards that we have to get through still. So we have this first card here. Even if you had questions beforehand, you might have a different question now upon looking at this card. Think of any question that comes to mind. It could be related to this reading or something completely different, but think of whatever question comes to mind. I will give you a minute to really meditate and connect with this card, starting right now. All right, the answer to your first question is big happy changes. Now I want you to look here again if you're not looking at the screen. And there's another question I would like for you to ask the universe. And it could be related to the question you had just previously asked. It could be something completely different. Just think about intuitively what comes to mind when looking at this answer card, and I will reveal it in a minute. All right, the answer for your second question is unlikely. And I will leave it at that. Thank you so much, 2B, for watching and listening to this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, you can like the video down below. You can comment down below if you resonate with this stack, and you can update your comment again sometime in the future if there are any updates you would like to provide for us all. You can subscribe to my channel. It helps me out a lot. You can check out the other timeless pick a card reading videos located all throughout my YouTube channel, and you can check out my ASMR channel, Brittney's ASMR, that will be linked in the video description down below. Thank you so much again, 2B, and take care. Hello 3C, and welcome to your part of the pick a card reading video. Your cards are the 9 of Cups upright, 9 of Swords in reverse, Page of Wands in reverse, or Page of Staffs in reverse, 3 of Swords upright, Knight of Staffs or Wands upright, and the Queen of Cups in reverse. And then we have 46, 8th house mystery, and 35, perception. The frequency of perception supports our natural curiosity. Oh, my cat is scratching at the microphone. Don't do that, Axel. The frequency of perception supports our natural curiosity, moving us beyond our comfort zone to find the edges of what we perceive as real and to take a good, hard, deep look at it. And then we have 2 other oracle cards here. And those I will get to later on. The ones that from the Angel Answers Oracle deck. And they are related to a question and answer format that, yeah, we'll get to at the end of your reading. But the main thing you all must release is... I mean, okay, if you chose this stack, it's very likely that you are... I don't even know if I want to say optimist, but I guess I'll say that. Like, you expect the best in situations. And with perception, too, here, it makes me think that a lot of you do struggle with being grounded, and that you struggle with reality. Page of Wands in reverse makes me think that you have high or big expectations, or at least big dreams. Knight of Cups is all about wish fulfillment. So I think a lot of you, what this means to me is that what you must release is living in pure luck land. Like, you have to release the idea that anything that you want will come to you. I mean, that's part of manifesting, right? But you still have to be logical. Like, life is more than just surrealism or abstract thought. It's also about logic and reasoning. I hate to break it to y'all. So because you have such high dreams for yourself, and with the 3 of Swords upright too, I think a lot of you, what you need to release is, I talked about this in one of the other stacks as well, but I think some of you could deal with escapism, but your escapism is in your dreams and in your goals, where you have these visions for yourself, but they're not always logical. So instead what you have to do is, you can have far-reaching dreams and goals, but you also have to have ones that are more attainable, if that makes sense. So you, Yeah, and also don't place such expectation on the things you want to have happen. I think a lot of times too, what you must release is some of these goals or these dreams that you have. And I know that can be really hard to say, but with the Three of Swords being here and the Page of Wands in reverse, even the Knight of Swords in reverse, Queen of Cups in reverse, it makes me think that a lot of your dreams, if we pair all these with the Three of Swords energy, which typically in tarot, it's the imagery is of a heart with three swords going through it. And so I think Spirit is saying that a lot of your dreams and goals aren't really truly goals or dreams that you want, or they won't actually bring you happiness in the way you think that they will. Like, you can want a lot of money, a lot of cars, a big fancy mansion. You can want all these material things, but for a lot of you, I think these material things could be you want them because you maybe grew up without much, or maybe currently in your life you don't have much. So then you dream of one day having more. Also, it makes me think of even like necessities. Let's say healthcare. A lot of people in America can't afford basic needs such as healthcare or even food. So I think if you are living in a situation like that, or you grew up in those kinds of circumstances, it can make it much harder when you're older to feel safe with your finances. And so then a lot of times people will overcompensate and say, okay, well, I don't just want enough money to survive or to slightly thrive or whatever. It's like, I want to be a multimillionaire, billionaire, quadrillionaire. And Spirit is saying that not only is that illogical, but also that wouldn't actually make you happy. Instead, let's focus on what actually would make you happy. A lot of you come or have this line of thinking that relates to this insecurity in some way, this lack. And there aren't even any pentacles here too. So it's like, is it really about the money? I think it's about so much more than that. And this could also be about more specifically relationships you have. So not just your relationship to money or to material things, but your relationship to just other people in your life. But really with the energy here, the way it comes across is that I think a lot of you want a lot out of your life. And so because of that, it comes out in terms of you wanting a lot of money, a lot of material things. Spirit is saying you must release the idea of you must release the idea that material wealth and abundance will bring you happiness. Spirit is saying for you all, there's actually so much more about life and the experiences that you have that will bring you so much more happiness. And I'm not getting a sense that, again, you can still manifest money and you can manifest material wealth, but don't think that that will solve all of your problems. You must release the idea that money will solve all of your problems, or that being famous will solve all of your problems, or will make you happy. Like, let's say, for example, you want to be famous. That won't be what makes you happy, but let's think about the things that could make you famous, that would make you happy. You see what I'm getting at? Let's say you yourself want to make YouTube videos. You're afraid to put yourself out there, so you just kind of like wish for it. Maybe you start, but then you stop. Or maybe you kind of just, here's an actually better example. Let's say you want to be a YouTuber, but you do what other people do. You try to hop on trends, you try to do all the things, you try to have a certain setup, all that. But then it's like, you're not fully connected with that form of doing YouTube. Instead, if you were to start doing, even if it's more niche, like I have an ASMR channel. I mean, even doing this is more niche, right? On the platform. Let's say you want to start doing what you actually like and enjoy. It's like, what you must release is also the pressure to immediately be the best. I think a lot of you could struggle with being patient as well. And it just seems like a lot of you must also release impulsivity. I think a lot of you kind of act before you fully think. And that includes with the goals and ambitions and dreams that you have. I think you just are like, okay, well, this is what I want, and I'm not going to really second guess it. And it's okay to go over your dreams, because our dreams and goals, as we evolve, as we grow, as we get older, even as things change our lives, it's okay for our goals to like either change or completely like just go away and we don't even believe in those goals anymore. And that doesn't mean it wasn't helpful to have those goals, because they can keep us grounded, they can keep us motivated, and they can keep us um goals are also good to for us to check in with ourselves. Like, is this something I still really want and to work toward, or should I focus my energy elsewhere? There's, yeah, absolutely nothing wrong with that. Um, to have goals that are changing. You shouldn't have goals that are constantly changing. I think some of you could struggle with that too. Struggle with keeping goals the same. Um, it seems like you might, or the opposite of that, where, or you might, sorry, my cat hit something on the keyboard. Or you might keep the same goals and you're stagnant in that way where you aren't allowing yourself to change them if they don't fit right with you. Because you're like, well, I set these goals, so I have to achieve them. And so you work hard, and then let's say you do achieve, and then again, you're just not happy. There's just sense that some things you're trying to manifest or work toward right now won't actually make you happy, and they wouldn't make you truly fulfilled. It's like you hear about that with people. It's like they achieve their wildest dreams, and then what happens at the end of the day? Are they happy with their life? Are they happy with their lifestyle, their home environment, the relationships they fostered? Some people completely abandon any and all relationships, including relationships like the relationship people have with themselves. Like, people completely are blinded by these goals. So that's something as well you must work on releasing, is seeking external happiness. You need to find, or seeking external excuse me, seeking external, what's the word I'm trying to look for? Yeah, I guess just external happiness or external validation, you could say, through your accomplishments or through your success. And you must release the idea that what makes you successful is what is tied to how much money you make or how many people know you. Because your life is so much more than all of that. Some of the happiest people are the people who live a simple life, and whether they have a family or not, like they have friends, they're connected to their community as well. And for some reason, I feel like throwing that in there too. Some of you could feel very inspired by your community, like the things people in your community are doing. If you look on Facebook groups and see what people are up to, or on Reddit, you get inspiration from there, or being out in nature more. I feel like this group could really feel inspired from being out in nature. And I think for some of you, you may struggle with keeping grounded. So if you're like out, like near a waterfall, and you're just looking at it, it's easier, hopefully, that way to clear your mind. Or for some of you, it's the opposite, where you get a lot of insights, but then just let them pass, right? It's like, okay, if you start thinking a lot of different thoughts, don't just shut down and be like, okay, I'm just gonna stop because this isn't working. It's like, give it time. It's about the patience and the impulsivity that I'm sensing here. Giving it time. And with the eighth house being here too, I feel like giving things time, being patient, makes a lot of you probably pretty anxious, and you'll just want to move on to the next thing. But Spirit is saying, if you are more patient, it will allow some of your goals and dreams to be more likely to play out. Also, I think what you must release is expectation that things will turn out the exact way you want them to. Spirit is saying that even with perception being here too, a lot of you have like very specific ways you want things in your life to play out, and Spirit is saying you must be more open-minded, and that you must especially recognize when certain things don't happen for you and then other things do, and realizing that something else was better meant for you, or you were meant to experience something else to get your soul more evolved. It feels like a lot of you, there's like a lot of karma, I feel like, tied in here, where a lot of you could have a similar line of thinking as you've had in a past life, and I feel like in past lives that's gotten you in trouble. And so Spirit is saying also to have less expectation of the future. Don't release your fears of the future, release your constant thinking of the future or trying to predict. That's a good word. I think a lot of you try to predict outcomes in your life as well as try to predict your future. And Spirit is saying with the 8th house here and the keyword mystery, they want for you to keep your life at least partially mystery. Like, you can listen to as many pick a card reading videos as you'd like. You can pull cards for yourself as much as you like. You can go to a psychic medium and they can tell you all these different things. You can get all the signs in the world. You can meditate and intuitively call in and do invocations for spirit and your spirit guides. You can do all that, but Spirit is saying if you're constantly thinking about your future or you're constantly thinking about wanting things better, perception is also here. And the card for perception is here. And Spirit is saying that nothing will ever play out exactly as you'd like. Because you have such an idea of how things are meant to be, or at least you think they are meant to be, or how maybe you've been told it will be. So let's say even if it does play out the exact same way, then it all leads back to what I was saying before, where that isn't what will actually make you happy. Having some element of surprise, having some element of the unknown will keep you intrigued, even if you have a general idea of what will happen next or what you want to accomplish. You don't need to know everything, because knowing everything, Spirit is saying if you were to know everything, you wouldn't be happy, because part of life is encountering the unknown, and that can be scary. I completely get it. But also, I think a lot of you, if things don't work out the exact way you'd like, a lot of you are more likely to be unhappy. And that ties in with the 3 of Swords energy here too, because I just feel like, yeah, maybe growing up, a lot of you didn't have much, or maybe you don't have much now, or things just haven't turned out the way you'd like for you. So I think a lot of you hold a lot of shame, so you need to release shame. And also you need to release comparisons to other people, I think, or even comparisons to your past self, right? Comparisons to your parents, or how they lived, or comparing your life to what your parents or family members would like to see you do. That just puts too much pressure on you, and then that means when things don't play out the way you'd like, you're more likely to be unhappy, and that just, I think a lot of you run the risk of being very sad and frightened even when things don't turn out your way, and you just feel the need to move on to the next thing and try to make that other thing work. And Spirit is saying constantly trying to do all these things. It's okay to, like, experience life. You can try new things and do new things, but constantly doing new things and also constantly going back to things that didn't work before. Sometimes that works, but all the time, Spirit's saying that you're missing the point. You're missing the plot is the way this comes across, where it's like sometimes it's not about doing things over and over again until you're able to do something. Sometimes things just aren't meant for you. Also, sometimes doing a bunch of things, it just gets you to escape your real problems or your real feelings. And so instead of focusing on doing things to distract you, release distractions and focus on, like, I feel a lot of high energy, or like it's very almost, it's Gemini and Aries coded, where I just see you jumping around a lot. So instead of jumping around a lot, Spirit wants you to be still and be silent and feel what comes up, think what comes up, intuitively try to connect and be like, are there any messages you have for me? For a lot of you, I think Spirit, the main message would just be to, like, slow down, release the need to do things quickly, and to do a lot all at once. Spirit is saying that you need to, like, take pauses and breaks throughout the day as well, not just, having a self-care moment, but, like, throughout the day, making sure you're breathing correctly, not shallow breathing. A lot of you need to work on those daily check-ins, doing things like, okay, how am I feeling? Or just taking, even if it's just 30 to 60 seconds, and focusing on grounding your energy. A lot of you aren't grounded, and that's also why you're not connected as much to the goals that Spirit would like for you to focus on. You focus more on ones that you think you want, but aren't necessarily what you want. Maybe you have some goals that Spirit's all good with, or dreams that you have that Spirit's all good with. Some of them, maybe Spirit's like, you're maybe trying to dream about too much at once, if that or like manifest too much at once. So Spirit could be saying also that you need to simplify in that way, so that your energy is focused on one or a few different things instead of just so many things, because that can also get you confused too. It's like, okay, which one? I think a lot of you could compare as well your different dreams. Like, this one means more to me, and if I don't have this, then I'm not happy, and then you just fall back on another one, another thing, dream or goal that you have if the first one didn't work out. And it's like, okay, I'll just focus on this. And Spirit is saying too that you don't really live as much in the, like, you live in the moment in terms of being impulsive, but you're not actually present. So something you need to work on is being present and intentional. That's a very big word for you all. Being intentional with your actions and even with your words. Words are power as well. Uh, Also, I get the sense for some reason that some of you need to, like, study or educate yourself on something, but you haven't been doing it because you just feel like you should maybe you already have all the information, so it even comes across almost as laziness. For some of you, it could just flat out be laziness. For some of you. So if you've been lazy on catching up on even catching up on something, let's say there's a show that your friends for the past year are like, just watch the final season. Why aren't you watching it? And let's say you really want to, but you're like, for some reason, you just can't because you're filling your time up with so many different things. And also, I feel like some of you could really struggle with productivity issues. You must release productivity. Like, you must release the need to be overproductive, because that's actually not helping you, is what Spirit is showing. That's actually not helping you in the way you think it is toward achieving your goals, especially if they're always changing anyway. So Spirit is saying, have time to do things that aren't working toward your goals. Have time to do things that are just for fun or are frivolous. You don't always need to work on something that is for achieving a goal, you know? And here, 1 second. Sorry, I was throwing something away real quick. Okay. You don't need to do that. You can do things that are just random and they don't have any specific agenda. It almost kind of makes me think too, like, a lot of y'all could easily get wrapped up into, like, the manosphere, or like certain, like, what is it called? Those, those people with like productivity gurus. I don't know. It's like, I actually have 7 days in one day. That means I have 49 days in a week. People like that, it's like, you don't want to be like that. Don't be like that. Y'all could also, I think, easily fall into the trap of get rich quick schemes. And that's not only harmful and hurtful for you, but it is for other people as well. So Spirit is saying to not fall into those traps, and that is also, it ties into the thinking before acting. And a lot of you need to think more about how your actions and what you say impacts other people. But I mean, of course, yourself as well. But it feels like also you need to stop listening to other people so much. Like, other people who you think are further in life than you, or other people who you think, yeah, there could be like specialists or professionals that you highly look up to, but that doesn't mean, unless if it's like you're being a doctor or something, I don't know. Uh, but generally speaking, I think it's safe to say that you don't need to always do exactly what everybody else is doing. You have a method that you can make up for yourself. You don't, that's the thing too. It's like a lot of you, I think, have lost the plot in terms of losing parts of your personality over the years, or even recently, just because you've kind of, what ties in with what I was saying earlier about, like, the YouTube example and, like, going viral and trying to go viral as opposed to doing what you actually love. A lot of you have been, I think, diminishing yourselves and making yourselves actually small, even if you feel like very big and powerful through any progress you make. If it's just basically copying what other people are doing, then that's not really you. It's success from other people, not really you, because it's using their methods, it's using their beliefs, it's using their teachings. You can use people's teachings, but you have to have your own flair for doing things, and also your own reasons. Like, if you're like, oh, I should have a big house because this guy says I should get a big house and a big Bugatti. Uh, so that's why I want to do it, because then I'll be cool. It's like, a lot of you with perception too, it makes me think a lot of you are so concerned about how other people perceive you. You want to be perceived as likable and cool. and you want to be able to stand out. I think a lot of you struggle with not wanting to be seen as a follower or be seen as somebody who, yeah, hasn't made it in life, somebody who is beneath another person. Like, there's just a sense that you feel you need to be on top and that you want people to view you in a positive light. But I think even more than just, well, for some of you, it's a positive light. For some of you, it's more so even just being successful or even just, again, a flat out being cool. There's this, and that you lose part of yourself in that because you care more about other people's perceptions and then you alter and change your personality, although not like truthfully, but externally you, well, people are able to change different parts of their personality. So if externally you are, then eventually it will internally, like, you'll change and your mannerisms and all that will change and you'll just fit in a lot more with the crowd. But I feel like for somebody, that's the thing too, a lot of these tropes, people want to stand out, people want to be successful, but if they fall into these tropes of doing what everybody else is doing, then you're not actually achieving that. You're not actually achieving true individuality and the true nature of being able to stand out and to be different. So Spirit is saying that part of your journey is you must release unoriginality. You must instead incorporate more originality into your life, and that means not always having the answers and doing things maybe just because you want to. Doing things even if you don't have the experience, but also if you don't even have other people's experience to fall back on. That's how people run into trouble when it comes to politics too. If you're just like, if you listen to a certain podcast and they have certain beliefs and you don't really question it or fact check it, it's very much that vibe. You need to fact check certain things in your life just in general, but also you just need to not always have other people's expertise or experience to rely on. It's okay to not know everything or to have all the resources available to you. And Spirit is saying that is a major theme, a major thing you need to work on right now, is working and operating based on not knowing, based on inexperience, including other people, like not knowing about other people's experiences. So then you can have an open mind and it's like a clean slate is what I'm seeing. I think you're very easily able to, how do I want to say? You're very easily able to be influenced by other people. So if that's something you need to work on releasing is being easily influenced or easily persuaded by other people. Instead, focusing on your internal thought process of, okay, how does this make me feel and why? And if you want to do additional research, you can, but ultimately focus on what first comes up for you when you're trying something new, when you're talking to somebody new, right? It's also giving me the vibes of, like, let's say you start talking to somebody new and then you've been on a few dates with them and then they meet some of your friends and your friends are like, oh, I think they're weird or I think they're ugly. And then that changes your perception and you're like, oh, I can't see this person the same way as I did before. So for a lot of you, I think you should also go through a period of time of removing just any and all, or at least as much as you can, any external pressures, because it feels like you just rely on those too much to be able to dictate your life. And if you want to be more independent and be more of a like quote unquote free thinker, I don't know, then Spirit is saying that this is something you greatly need to work on. Also, one second, I need to throw something away again. 1 second. Okay. Any peer pressures that you have as well. Maybe there's certain things that you don't want to try, you don't want to do, but other people peer pressure you into doing these things. Like, maybe you're sober, but people keep pressuring you to, like, have a drink at a party you're at, or, like, a birthday party or some other celebration or whatever, and then you cave in, and it's like, okay, you just relapse. Like, that's not something you obviously wanted, but you felt like it's something you need to do because you wanted to look cool for your peers or it's you wanted to fit in. Again, there's really this dichotomy of wanting to fit in, but also wanting to stand out and wanting to be different. But you can't, in this world, like, both can exist, but not at the same time in that way, where it's like, there needs to be better balance in your life as well. I think a lot of you are more prone to extremes, but you need to You need to be more logical as well. You need to incorporate more of that. I think a lot of you don't really truly like, if I'm like, what do you truly want and why? Other than just being like, oh, because then if I have a lot of money, then I won't have to worry about debt. Okay. It's like, okay, go further than that. Go as deep as you can. Keep asking yourself the why questions. I think you'll ask yourself maybe a question once and you'll leave it at that. It's like, okay, so then you have to let's go further into that example. Why do you want to be a millionaire? Also, then I don't have to be in debt ever the rest of my life. And it's like, okay, if I have $1 million, how would I spend it? Oh, I'll spend it on like a bunch of this other stuff. It's like, okay. Do you think that if you're a millionaire, you could still run the risk of being in debt if you're focused on the material world? It's like, no, because I'll be smart with my money. It's like, okay, no. Well, then how will you be smart with your money? What will you do with your money? Will you invest? Will you put a lot of it into savings? How will you get this money? And are you okay with it being unethically, or would you rather it be ethically that you obtain this money? Do you think there's such a thing as an ethical millionaire? There's those kinds of questions too. But anyway, it's like, yeah, keep asking yourself the why questions. Because even eighth house too, the mystery also makes me think that some of you really aren't in tune with yourselves the way you think you are. So I think the more questions you ask yourself right now, the more in tune you are with yourself, the more you get to know yourself, you'll realize that even with perception card here, your perception of yourself will change. Hopefully, for the better, and you'll realize, oh, some things, like we can have some material things, right? But we have to hopefully have more depth to our lives than just money or external things. Think about how you treat people, how you wish to be treated, or how you like, are you involved in your community? How do you help out others? There's so much more to life than these big grand things. You also, that's something spirit wants you to release as well, is just these big ideas, or like the need to only think big and think long term. It's okay to think about the things that are happening short term as well, and also it's okay to uh like do things, yeah, without I was gonna say something else, but yeah, I guess do things without having ulterior motives. I was gonna say something else that was very important with that. But anyway, a main thing for you all is to keep life a mystery, not always have everything planned out. Be careful about falling into the trap of wanting to be involved in certain materialist thinking or falling into peer pressures, and just really get to know yourself more during this time and continue asking yourself why it is you want certain things and the positive impact it could have on you and others. Things don't always have to have, I was saying before, don't just think about the big things, think about the small things, the day-to-day things, because the day-to-day actions that we take and the day-to-day thoughts that we have in our minds, that will be what actually, even a lot of times more so, leads us to these bigger goals. So we can't only focus on large scale, we have to focus on small scale as well. Okay, let's go into the guidebook now. So we have 46, 8th house mystery. If your chart were a village map, the 8th house would be on the corner of the red light district next to a mortuary and an Avings and a savings and loan bank. Sorry, there's a typo, no S on savings. It is a private house where we deal with things we don't talk about in public: sex, death, debts, loans, psychic phenomenon. Here we deal with other people's resources and how they are exchanged: money, bodies, thoughts, and work, and how we inherit goods and attitudes. This house can feel uncomfortable, but it's a place where we can transform. Action. Assess the power dynamics between you and the other people around important resources like sex, money, and inheritances. Notice if a relative or boss withholds money until you behave, or if a lover withholds sex until some other need is met. Just get clear in your own mind if anyone is pulling strings and try to heal dysfunctional dynamics with clear and healthy boundaries. Seduce honestly. Not all strange sexual dynamics or unusual financial agreements are a problem. If you understand your peculiarities and don't feel coerced or controlled by them, they are just part of who you are. That's the thing. Some of your thoughts, you feel controlled by these thoughts that you have, these goals that you have. Like, you are nothing without these goals happening, which diminishes, because it's like, diminishes you, because it's like, does that mean you're nothing now? Your life is meaningless now. So find meaning in life now, not just for future thinking. Financial investors and advisors, consultants, ministries, lovers, intuitives, brain trusts, anyway, auctioneers and investigators all work with 8th house affairs, and if they work with integrity, do so productively. Develop your 2nd house resources, your own money, sense of worth, and body confidence to strengthen your freedom and bargaining power and operate in this realm with grace. Engage with resources handed to you, but make your own judgment calls. The 8th house calls for one last freedom, to acknowledge that death exists and be fully alive in response. Challenge. It can be tempting to manipulate by withholding love, power, or money, and hard to step away when someone else is jerking those chains. Gift. Face your worst fears and step through. Feel that liberation. The trap of manipulation falls away when you don't bite the hook. I'm going to say that last part again. The trap of manipulation falls away when you don't bite the hook. I think a lot of you maybe even manipulate yourself right now, or there's a line of thinking that has manipulated you, that you've been taught from a child or just from societal thinking at this point in time. Okay. Now let's go to the other guidebook. We have 35 perception. The frequency of perception supports our natural curiosity, moving us beyond our comfort zone to find the edges of what we perceive as real and to take a good, hard, deep look at it. Perception can be described as the interpretation of that which has entered into our awareness. Upon first glance, the perception activation presents what seems to be chaos and motion. But when we take a better look, we find perfect alignment and synchronicity between the different aspects. We find balance and harmony. The sharp blades of clear perception cut through the layers of illusion that cover the space between the world of spirit and the world of matter. Together, the blades are neither round nor square, indicating that they are effective in both worlds. Conceptually, circles stand for everything and nothing at all, balance and infinity, purity and freedom. Within this image, they also represent our connection to a larger universe and the many planets that revolve around the realities that exist beyond our own. We think we have a clear perception of the reality that lies behind the blades, but we discover that the waters of our emotional and physical world are mirrored perfectly by the sky, our spiritual nature. They are exactly the same. As above, so below. I just said something about as above, so below, like, earlier today, which I never really ever say that phrase, but I definitely did today. Interesting. The square border represents the form-based reality of our earthbound life, while the lights on the corners remind us of our ability to reach far beyond these illusionary three-dimensional boundaries at any time we choose. When combined with awareness, skill, and precision, these perception blades can cut through illusions that otherwise keep us locked in place. The energy of perception reminds us that the concept itself is biased. Our consciousness determines our perception, and there is no absolute truth in what we perceive. That reminds me of sometimes when I'm pulling cards for myself, it's like that's why I also like listening to pick a card reading videos and going to tarot readers and psychic mediums myself, because it's easier for me to try to find certain meaning in the cards. Even if intuitively I'm getting something else, I try to guide it a different way. So it's like, no matter how many videos you listen to, it's like, reality is reality. A lot of you need to work on accepting reality a lot more and releasing a facade in order to potentially protect you or keep you safe, because it's not actually in the long run protecting you or keeping you safe. Okay, there are always more layers to uncover, more insights to be revealed. The blades of clarity cut through illusion and expand our perception of reality, revealing a path toward harmony and peace in our inner world and in the world around us. The dark border around the edge indicates the vast and deep universe that oftentimes seems mysterious and dark. The blues indicate the clarity of expression that is needed to cut through the illusions of our perceived reality. The red edges indicate our solid foundation in the physical world while in body here on Earth. The yellows and golds indicate the inner power that is needed to create a reality that matches our perception of our inner and outer worlds combined. Try this. Close your eyes and think about where the edges of your comfort zones lie. Are you willing to try something new, or do you prefer to stay in your familiar routines? When is the last time you did something completely out of your comfort zone? Go inside yourself and witness how your perception of reality can change by just changing your point of focus from the outer to the inner. Yeah, that's the thing. Not just the outer, the inner. That's what I've been saying. Also, yeah, I believe I highlighted on this, but Some of you are stagnant. Well, I guess I didn't really say this, but a lot of you I said could maybe be doing a lot of different things, but for some of you, it's more about what it says here, doing the same things but expecting different results. And Spirit's like, that's the definition of insanity, so don't be doing that. Then they're not actually calling you insane, but you know that quote. Okay, I'll leave that there, and then we'll go to, let me put these cards away, except for these last two cards. If you want to look here on the screen, if you're not yet looking, here is the first card, the first Angel Answers Oracle card. So what I want you to do is, you may have had questions already beforehand, but looking at this card, you might obviously get a different question that intuitively comes to you. So I'll have you take a minute here to connect with the card. You can pause the video if you need to, but I'll give you a minute to connect with the card and think of a question that would correlate with the answer. And I'll do that starting right now. Okay, so the answer for your first question is within the next few months. Now I'll have you look on the screen again here if you're not already looking, and there will be another question I want you to think of as it correlates to what the answer is hidden behind this card. So we'll do the same thing we did before. I'll have you connect with the card for a minute. You can pause if you'd like. You can skip past this part if you like, but I'll just have you think of a different question that comes to mind when looking at this card, and I'll give you a minute right now. All right, the answer for the second question is in the near future. Okay, I will leave it at that. Thank you so much, 3C, for watching and listening to this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, you can like the video down below. You can comment down below if you resonate with this stack, and you can update your comment again sometime in the future if there are any updates you would like to provide for us all. You can subscribe to my channel. It helps me out a lot. You can check out my other timeless pick a card reading videos located all throughout my YouTube channel. And you can check out my ASMR channel, Brittney's ASMR, that will be linked down below in the video description. Thank you so much again, 3C, and take care.